Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your interest in today's discussion. I am Steve Wyken, Datatelligent's Chief Customer Officer, and I will start us off today talking about this important topic. So today's agenda is, you can see on the screen here, we'll have three people talking today. As I mentioned, I'll kick it off by going over challenges in higher education and also those type of challenges that affect community colleges in particular. My colleague Larry Blackburn will then follow and provide a framework for becoming a data-driven college. And then following Larry, Debbie Phelps, who's the Executive Director of Institutional Effectiveness at Cowley College, will give her personal story about how she's helping move Cowley to a data-driven organization. And finally, Larry will wrap things up by just talking about how you can accelerate your data analytics maturity roadmap. So let me first start by talking about some of the landscape in higher education and some of the challenges that institutions face. Obviously, the pandemic is still dominates all aspects of our lives, including higher education. But one of the big issues university and college were facing before COVID was a student loan crisis, which caused many to question the value of higher education and started this push for more cost-effective options for education, which obviously is very good for community colleges. But COVID accelerated a lot of the existing issues, including the student loan crisis, but also introduced some new challenges that I'll go over with you in a second. From a financial standpoint, many universities have seen their costs go up while revenues were going down due to their response they needed for the pandemic. Schools had needed to invest in technology and additional training to deliver online learning. And as these schools reopened, they had to invest into facility upgrades to help enforce social distancing, testing, as well as do things like new mechanisms to clean the air and clean the facility. Simultaneously, revenues have been decreasing as students are either not living on campus or are just taking a pause from school. They've also had to cancel revenue generating events like sports and concerts. And finally, as the economy was struggling, schools have less funds that they receive from the state to cover their costs, and alumni are not given as much. From an instructional standpoint, the quick transition to all online learning has had mixed results for both faculty and students. Given the speed at which this had to happen, the outcomes have been uneven, leaving many students and faculty frustrated with the situation. And this feeds into concerns around the cost of higher ed, as many students were questioning why they're paying in-person tuition for online courses. And finally, higher ed is not immune to some of the external influences or forces that are going on right now in our world. As far as you know, I mean, many of us who lived through for the last year and a half, we've gone through a pretty difficult time with social unrest, with a contentious election, as well as ongoing concerns related to the virus. Right, as we now know, we're now facing the Delta variant, as well as calls for more mask mandates, etc. All these forces are causing schools to react, right? How are they going to handle these new demands on them? Unrelated to COVID is there's been an ongoing demographic shift here in the country that is decreasing the number of college-age students coming through the pipeline. This here shows you the breakdown for DuPage County in Illinois, but this is a national trend where schools are going to have to face the fact they're not going to have as many students coming to their schools or be available. So now they have to look for new avenues to get more students. For community colleges, the situation is even more difficult. Unlike other economic downturns where community colleges typically saw their enrollment increase, this has been different. They have seen their enrollment decline more sharply than other higher education type of schools. Key measures of retention and persistence are down as compared to public four-year schools as compared from 2019 to 2020. They've also seen a sharp decrease in retention for first-time freshmen, especially around minorities. So why is this? Schools report that their students, community college students, are facing unique challenges due to this pandemic. Obviously, job issues and many of the part-time jobs like restaurant work, etc., had disappeared or had slowed during the pandemic. But also stay-at-home orders have put pressure on students to help out more at home with their family. Remote learning is also a barrier for many potential students, especially lower economic students. Many lack sufficient internet service or laptops. And then public locations with computers and Wi-Fi, like libraries, were closed for the majority of time during the heat of the pandemic. This contributes to the next issue faced by community colleges. They have always had concerns with student engagement with their schools, but this move to mostly remote learning has only made this problem worse, with many students feeling increasingly disconnected from their school. All these factors, among others, contribute to this drop in enrollment and retention. So I'd like to take a pause here and ask you all, what do you see as your greatest challenge facing your school? Was this something I covered, or is there other issues that you're facing? If you could, put your comments in the discussion section, and we'll follow up later in the presentation. But overall, based on all these issues here, community colleges have a series of questions they're trying to answer now using data, and they fall into one of these three buckets: enrollment, retention, or budget. On the enrollment side, schools want to know, how do they improve their recruitment of students, and especially where are those new opportunities to get students? They also want to know, for their specific programs, how are they doing? What are the trends? Are they increasing or decreasing as far as number of students? And then they want to understand the student characteristics, such as age, gender, and zip code. Where are they coming from? On the retention side, they want to proactively identify students who are at risk of not coming back to their school. They want to understand what those factors are. They want to be able to measure those, and they want to intervene early on so they do not lose students. They also want to understand how they can improve engagement of these students, right? They want to understand what are those factors, again, that make students feel more engaged with their school. From a budget side, schools need the ability to model different scenarios due to the uncertainty in future enrollment and government support that they may be given. They need the tools to forecast, to do this modeling of the future state so they can properly plan and make adjustments as needed. So to answer all those questions, colleges need to become what we call colleges of the future. Now, when we think of that, there's four characteristics typically. They're smart, flexible, fully digital, and data-driven. So when I say smart, what I mean is that colleges typically have limited resources and short time frames, and they need to make the right decision quickly and devote their energy on the right project. They also need to be flexible. They need to be able to adjust as new information comes in, and they need to be fully digital. And what we mean by that is that all operational needs need to be digital, so allow for easy data collection, and then those analytics, which allow you to be data-driven. And this, when we say data-driven, what we mean is that the college has a culture of where everyone is a data analyst, and they use data in all aspects of their jobs. Now, Larry will cover a framework that schools can use to become this data-driven organization.
All right. Hello, everyone. Great to be with you today. Thanks for your time and interest in the forum today. So I'm Larry Blackburn. I am the Chief Solutions Officer of Datatelligent. And as Steve talked about, we believe the pandemic has really accelerated the need to be a data-driven college. And so we've done some research on this, what it means to be data-driven, and have created a framework that I'm going to go over now. So start first with a definition. What does it mean to be data-driven? And we boiled it down to these two concepts. And data-driven means that you have data-first thinking. which means that data is embedded into all of your business and decision-making processes. So you're always thinking about how do I get the data I need to make my decisions? What data do I need? And then you have easy access to that. And then that point, that easy access, that's where you need all of your systems and people working together to make the most effective and efficient use of data. So with that definition of being data-driven, we put that into a maturity model that you see here. And data-driven is really the top step in this maturity model. And we find that a lot of organizations that we work with are in the lower levels and want to make progress on moving up to be data-driven. So I'm going to go through each of the levels and then think about, as I go through this, where you are in your maturity. So the first level is what we call data aware. And here you're just doing manual, non-standard reports. You want data, and so you are aware of data that you need, and the best you can do at that level is that you can pull together reports often in spreadsheets, and then because it's difficult to get to the data when you need it, your decisions are rarely driven by that data. The next level we call data proficient, and here you are moving up to using standardized reporting on a reporting platform such as Tableau, and even at this level, you're looking more at historical data, and you're confirming what you think is happening. The data is helping you confirm that, so it's really just used for awareness purposes. The next level we call data savvy. Here you are making a move up to close to being data driven. And at this level, you're using data to make some business decisions. You have access to data to make certain business decisions. But we do find that at this level, that access to data is inconsistent, and then it's often in silos. So you can make decisions within a specific area because maybe you own the data for your area, but when you try to look across the organization, it's difficult to get past those silos of data. And so then the final level, as I talked about first, being data-driven, you are using data first in your thinking and decision-making. So I've got a couple examples, and maybe you're familiar with this. So Tableau, of course, can help you move up that maturity model. And this is what we find when we encounter customers who are just at that data aware stage. They've got data in spreadsheets, right? So this is a report, all manual, requires a spreadsheet, and it's difficult to scale. After Tableau, you can move up to being data proficient, right? Move up the level, and now you're using using Tableau as your reporting platform, and the report is much cleaner. You actually have interactivity. This is an example of a school for the continuing education areas, but you can drill down using Tableau to see the different subcategories under adult education, and then also there's a way to visually show gender, ethnicity, and current age. So that moves you up to that data proficient, and then eventually you can move up to being data driven. So another part of our framework for being data-driven college, again, based on our research, we identified these 3 key principles. And I'm going to cover these at a summary level and then go into them a little more detail, and then also give examples of how we at Datatelligent are enabling the data-driven college. So principle 1 is making data analytics transformational. 2 is investing what you can. And then 3, establish a unified approach. So what do we mean by these? The first one, making data analytics transformational. This means making your data analytics connected to the institutional mission, right? How is data enabling your institutional mission for results that matter to students, faculty, and staff? So all of your stakeholders, including your students, and then all of the organization at all the different levels. Secondly, it's not a one-size-fits-all. You do want to tailor the approach for your data analytics to your mission, your culture, your organizational structure, and then also understanding where you are in your analytics maturity. And then finally, you want to start by developing a blueprint for building a data-driven organization. So I want to focus on that a little bit more, on what we mean by a blueprint. And this is something we've worked with other organizations, and also we partner with Tableau. I don't know if you've seen it recently, but Tableau also came out with a assessment tool for a blueprint. And so when we create a blueprint for a organization, these are the 4 key parts of that blueprint. So number 1, understanding your critical business strategies and timelines. So again, making data transformational by tying to those critical strategies and timelines. Secondly, thinking about what is your vision? What does success look like for data analytics? And what is your vision for that? What does it look like to be data mature? And then third, we want to spend some time understanding your current capabilities. How are you doing data analytics today? What tools are you using? What are your various data sources that you would like to bring together for that organizational view of data? And so what are those current capabilities? And then finally, out of the prior 3 parts, we then create a blueprint in terms of the processes, the tools, the strategy for data, and then how do you create a data driven organization? Okay, so this is something we've done with lots of organizations that we can help you with. The second point, invest what you can. And as Steve talked about earlier, lots of financial constraints, right? And so with those, it's also accelerated the need for data, right? So how do you balance the need to do more with data with those financial constraints? And our recommendation is that you use an iterative approach, right? So you don't have to start with a large organization-wide project necessarily where you want to do everything at once. You want to get all your data together, you want to create a data warehouse, and then you want to create a lot of solutions. So we recommend that you take a iterative approach, start with smaller wins that return immediate value, which then you can then get some more buy-in and then keep building out in smaller steps. And then also focus on solutions that bring high value, right? Again, prove that data analytics can bring value, get some immediate wins, get some buy-in on what you want to do. And then finally, your investment needs to be a balance of cost-effective and timely, right? So what's really critical for you? What would get you a step toward data maturity and also be cost-effective at the same time, okay? So we really looked hard at this and say, how can we come up with a good approach for helping colleges take this iterative approach? And I'll talk more about this later, but we came up with a new way, which we call a subscription-based service. And with that, you get the speed because it's also flexible and it's easy, right? And so through our subscription-based service, which is basically you pay one fee and you get a lot of different services with that. And we just want to make data easy to use. Okay, so I'll talk more about that later. And the third part of the third key principle is to establish a unified approach. So this is critical. We talked about silos earlier in your data. You want to remove those silos and just have a strategy at the highest level where you expect that collaboration across the institution and the sharing of data. And then the second point is that your front lines need to be empowered, right? The front lines are the ones that are have those interactions with your students, with other leadership and making use of data. And so you want to empower those front lines with data and the tools. And tools like Tableau can do that, right? You can push that data to your, at all levels of your organization, down to your front line so that they have access to data when they need it. And then the third point is that make data a strategic asset, right? And make it an organizational asset and create a unified data platform. So I want to focus on that point. So this is a visual of creating a unified data platform, right? You're able to, in that platform, and here we've got, we're recommending a cloud database called Snowflake, which allows you to take all the various data sources on the left, both internal and external, put them into a data lake where you basically bring in all the different data that you want to be able to use, and then you create those data sets for each of your solutions. And Tableau can then connect to those various data sets. So that's a real quick description, but that's what we mean by a unified data platform. So now you're looking across the institution with all the different areas included. All right, so I'm gonna stop there and turn it over to Debbie for a story about how she's using data for her maturity roadmap.
Thanks, Larry. Let me start my video here and share the screen and we can get started. Okay, just to confirm, you can see that? Larry, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can see it.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so first, let me say thanks to Datatelligent and Tableau for inviting Cowley College to participate today. Like the guys told you, my name is Debbie Phelps, and I'm the Executive Director of Institutional Effectiveness here at Cowley College. I'm going to spend some time today sharing our data maturity journey, where we started out, what we've accomplished, and where we're currently headed. So you can see by the title of my presentation, out here in Kansas, we're off to see the wizard, how a small Kansas community college is taking big steps down the road to data maturity. So let me tell you a little bit about Cowley College. We are a 2-year publicly funded community college located in South Central Kansas. Our main campus is at Arkansas City, and we're about 60 miles away from Wichita. That gives you an idea of where we're located. We have our main campus, and then we have 5 other sites in locations outside of our county. We offer academic program choices for associate's degrees, career and technical certificates, and non-credit hour business and industry training. And so you've heard the guys mention the pandemic several times. We did see an enrollment decline of about 4% overall when we compared academic year 2020 with 2019. And those are due to factors including the pandemic. On average, about 80% of our students are residents of Kansas. And for the past 3 fall semesters, around 1/3 of our student body has been enrolled exclusively online. Traditionally aged students are still the primary members of our student cohorts, but the number of students who enroll in college coursework during high school has increased. This is, though, in contrast to what's going on in our state. And so last year, our state saw the first time a decline that dipped under 50% for high school graduates who were choosing college as their next step after high school. Additionally, our county's population is aging at the same time, and we're seeing some loss in population, the people who are going to other counties in our state. And so going back to what Steve said about constrained revenue sources, we're experiencing all of that here at Cowley College. So I am a one-person multifunctional shop. Each of my functions contributes to the college's organizational effectiveness. And so I've broken down our data maturity journey into 3 phases. And they are multiplying the power of one, that's me, equipping the masses, that's all of my colleagues here at Cowley College, and then increasing efficiency. And just as Glinda the Good Witch told Dorothy that she always had the power to go home, I'm planning to tell you that I do believe very strongly in the importance of data access to empower staff and faculty to achieve the goals they always dreamed they could do, all in the end to benefit students and student success. So here in phase one, we embarked on a data maturity journey because we recognized we had to become more efficient and more effective using the resources we already had. And those resources are the data in our Genzabar relational database, the information in the many surveys that we administer to students, the aid information that we house in PowerFades, and then the collaborative work on our campus by our many employees. And the first constraint that we acknowledged was the need to stretch the reach of my office in an efficient way. And so to accomplish this, we invested in Tableau licensing for our campus and data training for me. We invested training dollars, both institutional and from our Charles Perkins CTE grant. And I completed desktop 1, 2, and 3. If you're considering beginning your journey with Tableau, I highly recommend you get involved in the community. I also joined the Analytics Tableau user group and began following the many developers on LinkedIn and discovered freely shared blogs and YouTube channels. Tableau is a very generous community and it's been a great resource for me. So I began to build user-friendly dashboards for our faculty to meet institutional needs like academic program review. And then we began to take deeper dives into student success and remediation, 100% distance education students, and other topics. I also put together dashboards for teams like our school retention team, our diversity, equity, and inclusion team, and for campus services like our writing center. Finally, the most important accomplishment that I think we made during phase one was the creation for a better process for data review prior to the submission of all state and federal reporting. So now it's not just me. I have a set of reviewers who are content experts, people like our registrar, along with enrollment management and academic affairs staff, and they review the data using Tableau dashboards. So you can see on this screen, I've given you examples of 2 dashboards. One where we're looking at information on FTE by location. This gives enrollment management and academic affairs staff a quick look at how we're doing compared to the most recent year and then a 3-year average. And then down on the bottom left, you can see aid awarded, focusing on federal aid. And I created this because this information can alert us to the possibility that a decline in, for say, Pell Awards may mean we need to adjust our budget to increase institutional support to help students be successful. The focus of phase 2 was equipping the masses, getting data literacy out on our campus. So one of the things that I did to further that objective was I created a monthly newsletter that I call By the Numbers. And the goal of this is to create a set of dashboards during each month of the regular fall and spring semesters. And we focus on a broader data set to educate faculty and staff. These data sets are usually related to federal and state reporting. So the examples here on this slide, you can see on the upper right, I've created some Pareto charts. Viewers can log in to their online Tableau account. They can filter by year. They can filter by academic program on this one. And the data that is used here is an extract from our state's annual year collection, a very comprehensive set of data numbers. The charts in the bottom left can help increase data literacy about the fall IPEDS enrollment survey. And it gives employees an insight into student headcounts and answers the question, who exactly are our students? So you can see I've created some maps so they can look at our international students and our students from here in the United States, also by degree seeking status, enrollment status, and some other things. But even though data access was increasing, all of the dashboards that I created during our first 2 years with Tableau still used spreadsheets. And so therefore we weren't meeting one of our original goals, and that was to make data access more efficient. Another ongoing need continued to be the ability to use our data to answer the question, what now? Or what if? Or where should we head? So it's one thing, like Larry said, to be able to look at a key results indicator at a year-over-year measurement, but it's another thing to be able to take that same information and make it work for you so that it predicts, for instance, how many students will retain next spring, or how many will complete next year or transfer out. And so those are the proactive questions that we recognized we still needed to be able to answer. And so the next milestone in our data maturity journey is where we are right now in phase 3, increasing efficiency. We began that, I would say, when we signed our first partnership with Datatelligent in November of 2020. And the collaborative work we've been able to accomplish has helped us to continue the momentum. So in stage 1, we completed the first 2 dashboards in the list below, and I'm going to show you a couple of looks at those in a moment. But you can see some other things that we've also done. We also created a fundraising dashboard with data from Razor's Edge to use predictive analytics with. We created a career and technical education student outreach dashboard that uses Department of Labor and census data. And we created an enrollment outreach in Kansas dashboard. In a few minutes, I'll talk about our joint effort to move into Snowflake. So this is our student risk assessment dashboard, and you can see we're using predictive analytics to identify who is at risk for dropout. We provided Datatelligent with a list of factors, including 100% online, midterm GPA, socioeconomic need is identified by Pell, award status, and some other things. They created a scale, scored them, and this allows my advisors to quickly identify who we need to reach out to. The second was a budget forecasting dashboard, and you can see if you follow the red lines that our CFO is able to change the percentage and see how that is going to affect us. The second screen you can see up at the top is a revenue and tuition fees dashboard. And so she can also do the same thing and see how this will affect institutional funding. So while we've been able to move away from spreadsheets with the help of Datatelligent, and we've moved to a direct connection with our gens of our system, we still wanted to be able to combine internal data sources more efficiently with external data. And so currently our focus has shifted. While we're still working on solutions together, we are now with the new fiscal year, we started an annual subscription with Snowflake. And so you can see on this screen, these are the types of data that we are going to be building a data lake with. We want to be able to extract data from this and make it work together. So the newest set of data that we're planning to bring in is data from the National Student Clearinghouse. If you're familiar with Student Tracker, this is the type of information that I want to seamlessly match with the information in our SIS. So looking further down the journey, to increase student success, we are also considering the addition of Tableau data management services. And so this has the potential to increase our data governance structures. We already have a cross-campus data governance team, but we could use a little help with getting some technical things organized. And so Larry and Steve recommended Tableau data management, and we're going to be taking a look into that. It will also help me to get our data cataloged so that we can increase the number of active Tableau creators on our campus. So like I started out, again, I want to say a big thank you to Larry, Rob, and Steve for inviting me to participate in today's event. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions about some of the decisions that we made along our data maturity journey. And I'm always happy to tell you how great our partnership with Datatelligent has been. You can reach out to the guys there and they have my contact information. So Larry, I think I'm going to be passing it back to you.
All right, thanks, Debbie. Thanks for sharing your great story. We really have enjoyed our partnership with you, and great to see the results that you're getting with data and Tableau in what you're doing. So what I'm going to talk about next, let me make sure I can share my screen here. Hang on a minute. Just get confirmation. You can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So this is the final section. So thank you for your interest so far. I'm going to be closing with how we at Datatelligent can help you accelerate your maturity. And so I'm going to be talking just to kind of make it real to you. As you heard, we've been partnering with Cowley with their data analytics maturity. And so I'm going to be tying how we're doing that with what we've done for them a little bit. All right. So I want to go back to the three principles that we saw earlier: make data analytics transformational, invest what you can, and establish a unified approach. And I would say these three things we have accomplished with our partnership with Cowley and Debbie. So in our, as I talked about earlier, our approach is a subscription-based approach. And there are three parts to our services. And we include all of these services in our subscription. And I want to show you how they tie to the key principles. So first of all, we have a partnership in that we work with you, as I said earlier, on your blueprint for data analytics maturity. And so that supports principle number one, which is to make data analytics transformational. So we're always working with you to make sure that you are enabling your strategies as a college. Secondly, we have a flexible model with our people. And so that helps you take that iterative approach with us. And with Cowley, what we did is that we started with a couple of high priority items that Debbie and Cowley College wanted to complete right away. And we were very flexible in what we could do in the initial subscription. And Debbie had identified certain key areas that we needed to get some traction in. And we just took an easy approach, right? We didn't start by saying you have to have all your data collected in a warehouse. We just made some connections to our Zanzibar data, and we're able to create a couple of solutions within a couple of months. And so that was the first iteration. And then we've been taking an iterative approach with every new solution that we're building. So that's worked well for Cowley and taking that iterative approach, and then just keep continuing to build out their maturity with analytics. And then finally, as you heard with Debbie, we are taking the next step in creating a unified data platform using Snowflake. And we did get started on a step towards that when we brought data directly into Tableau. And so we did use a tool called Tableau Prep to then connect to their Zanzibar data and then bring that into Tableau so that we could automate those Tableau solutions and get out of the spreadsheet sources, as Debbie was talking about earlier. So that was a step toward that platform. And now we can take that next step in integrating all those different sources into a platform. So again, we took a very iterative approach in how we're helping Cowley with their data maturity. And so I want to show you a little bit more detail about what's included in the partnership people and platform. So under partnership, as we said, it's a subscription-based service. We help you develop that maturity roadmap, and this is something we've been doing ongoing with Debbie. With every solution that we build, we always update that maturity roadmap and then talk about what's next, right? What's next on that maturity roadmap? And as Debbie described, right, they went from using Tableau first and then adding Snowflake, and now we want to bring all of those different data sources into their platform. And then we always make sure through our success planning that we're tied to your objectives. And then under people, we have a flexible team of folks who have that deep analytics knowledge of higher ed. We provide the full range of services, but we manage those resources as we need to, right? We don't have to bring on a full team of people all the time. We just manage those resources as needed for the work. And then finally, we help you build that platform. And we have what we call solution engines for Tableau, and I'll describe those in a little bit. And then we also know how to connect to higher ed systems. And we use a tool called Snowflake to do that, bring that data in, but we can tie to Zanzibar, Banner, Blackboard, and other LMSs as well. And then we can provide that ongoing support of your platform in what we call our data analytics operations. So you saw this earlier. Again, just want to highlight that this is a new way. We're a subscription-based service, which gives you that flexibility. Again, allows us to be nimble and be quick. And that was something we were able to do with Debbie, is that we got her results in a couple of months on her first solution. So we take that iterative, agile approach. We're flexible. We focus on results, and it's different than the traditional consulting model where it's based on hours, but we're really focused on results first. And then what do we need to do to get you those results? And then finally, we just make it easy. We want to make it easy. We want to make it easy to get your analytics roadmap, implement it, and then finally just make data easy to use. So going back to the solution engines, we have a list of solution engines that you see here. So think of these as templates where we have a way to quickly start building a solution based on all of our previous work with different institutions and colleges. And then we bring that experience to you and say, for us to build one of these solutions, here's the data that we need, we map to that data, and then we can have a first version of a solution pretty quickly. And then we do refine that to meet your specific needs. And so Debbie had showed the solutions earlier on retention. So student success retention, that's a big area right now with most schools, and identifying those students at risk. For a while, there was a lot of concern about how is COVID impacting my students and faculty, so we had a solution for that. We do also have solutions for the admissions enrollment, teaching learning effectiveness, advancement, as Debbie talked about earlier, and then also the strategy and operations with the budgeting forecasting solution that she mentioned. So a couple of more samples just to show you what these solution engines would look like. We can show you enrollment trends, and this is all built on Tableau. And so we can visually show the year-over-year change for certain terms and how that change, we can break that down by ethnicity, by gender, by age groups, and then other ways to categorize that data and show it visually, which is the nice part about using Tableau. Another one, this can show you for your enrollment pipeline. So if you're tracking metrics along your admissions pipeline, recruitment pipeline, we can show it in a nice visual report, and then track against those goals. So you see the chart in the middle is that we're able to show you how you're tracking against your enrollment goals. And then, as Debbie talked about earlier, we worked with her on an advancement solution. So this is a page out of that, where we wanted to really focus on, let's understand the movement of our donors over time, and where are the opportunities for maybe donors who stop giving, and then also donors who are reoccurring, and make sure we identify how to engage those donors. Okay, I'm going to pause there and ask you to enter in the chat. What are some areas that your institution could use the most help based on the solution engines that we presented? Okay, and then finally, in closing, thanks again for attending. Thanks for your interest in the webinar today. We partnered with Tableau to come up with a special offer where you can receive special pricing on a package that includes the Tableau licenses that you see here. This will get you started in using Tableau in your institution. If you don't have it, I realize some of you may have it already, but if you don't, then this is a great way to get started. And then also, we would include what we call our accelerator subscription. And that accelerator subscription, what we do in that is that we identify some high value solutions that would get you jump started. Again, we make that easy. You don't have to have data in a data warehouse, as long as we can get some data to start building that solution. That's how we start. We make it easy. And we can often do that in 90 days time frame. We do build out your maturity roadmap and blueprint in that accelerator subscription. And then we make sure we understand what success looks like to you. And as I said, we typically include one solution engine using Tableau. Okay, so if you are interested in that, please just drop your name in the chat window, and then we'll follow up with you. Finally, we'll send out the slide deck. So if you're looking for some resources, we got some links, and you can read through those. Visit our website. We have lots of good references on our website on data analytics maturity. And finally, just want to say thank you from everyone who's presented today. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for attending. If you have any questions, please contact me. My email address is there. And then I'll stop there, Chris, to see if we have any final questions.
No questions at this time. I agree. I want to thank everyone for attending. And I will be sending out a copy of the recording as well as a copy of the presentation.